Have you ever wondered how public health started? Public health was not as developed as it is today. It went through many eras before it came the public health that we know, and one of these eras that contributed to the development of public was the Roman era. The Roman civilization were the first to implement a public health system. The reason why they had to implement a public health system was because Rome had grown in size, and it was impossible to find a natural source of fresh water in the city, because they believed that bad water was the cause of many diseases. The Romans also believed that prevention of illness was more important than cure of illness. 479 AD to 27 BC is the time period where the Romans invented wonderful things to improve public health. Things that the Romans did to improve public health include public baths, sewer systems, aqueducts, medicine, believing in certain gods, public toilets, and surgery instruments. Aqueducts were always taller at one end and short near the city. They worked because of gravity, so they were always built on a slope. The water moved from lakes and springs, moved along the sloping canal to storage tanks in the cities. The aqueducts provided the large volumes of water that, after serving drinking, bathing, and other needs, flushed through the sewers. If they didn't have aqueducts back then, they wouldn't have clean water or sewage systems. Speaking of sewage systems, the Romans had a complex system of sewers covered by stones, much like modern sewers. Drainage systems evolved slowly and began primarily as a means to drain marshes and storm runoff. The sewers were mainly for the removal of surface drainage and underground water. Because of the good supply of fresh water to the Roman cities, the citizens were able to keep very clean. They were encouraged to bathe in public baths, which meant that they kept themselves much cleaner than previous generations. This also meant that they were usually healthier. Bathhouses were built all over the Roman Empire. Ancient Rome had 900 public baths, and they were for both the poor and the wealthy. Some baths held about 300 people. Others were large. The baths contained libraries, malls, courtyards, and gardens. Also, the baths held business meetings for people to talk about work. The baths were a place to relax and meet. Public baths improved public health because people would be clean, healthy, and would walk around without having an odor around. Besides the inventions of ancient Romans, they still often relied on religion and superstition to cure their illnesses. They believed that certain spells would get rid of their disease. A religious god that they would have looked up to was called Asclepius. Asclepius was a god of medicine and healing. Many people thought that diseases were brought on by the anger of the gods.